interest rates being higher in the last couple of years, and even more so in the last couple months, for me, I've noticed more foreclosures hitting the market. And we've had a few clients reach out about seeing foreclosures, and the assumption is there's deals to be had. So just wanted to use this quick, brief podcast to kind of share the foreclosure process because it is very different than resale and answer the question of, are they deals?
Yeah.
So the process starts very similar to resale. A home will be put on MLS in most cases. It will potentially do open houses. It will have an offer date or look at offers as they come. Once it gets to the point where a buyer rates an offer and gets an accepted offer, you likely will have subjects in your offer, do your home inspection, get financing approved, etc., and then remove subjects once you are happy with your due diligence. This is where it all changes. So once you have once subjects are removed and you have a firm contract in place, a court date is set. When that court date is set, the current accepted offer price is public, so released by the listing agent to any other interested buyers, put on the listing even. Usually that court date is somewhere between like 2 and 6 weeks away, depending on what time of year and how busy it is. And other buyers have the opportunity to, in previous years, show up to court at the court date and present their offer. In order to be successful in court, it would need to be a subject-free offer with a deposit attached, and any terms that the lawyers running this transaction have included on the listing. And there are often a long list of them that are very bank-friendly and not buyer-friendly, such as is, where is. You're accepting the property in exactly the condition that you get it on possession date. And that sometimes is not that pretty, but we'll get there. In more recent years since COVID, the offer process is done a little differently. In most cases, you're not showing up to court and presenting your offer in person. You're sending an email to the listing agent or the lawyer the night before the offer date. The transparency of these transactions is not as friendly in most cases as a normal resale transaction. There have been instances recently.
But it was still time sensitive. And we'll get into that. But
when you showed up to court, you could see how many other people were there. You could talk to the listing agent and be like, how many envelopes do you have in your hand? You've got 6. Okay, great. And then you can prep your offer based on that. Versus the email process is a little different. Sometimes you're dealing with the listing agent. Sometimes the lawyers want to take control at this point. Sometimes the lawyers are not very transparent in terms of what they've received, or they are not communicating as well as necessarily a realtor would. But in any case, you're writing your best offer, essentially. You're not getting given a call back like in a lot of multiple offer resale transactions. You're writing your best and final. You are including a deposit, and you are hoping for the best the next day.
Maybe let's go into the what it would be like. Before we get into that, you talked about foreclosure in as-is condition and some of the unfavorable terms. So is there a deal? And my question for that, there hasn't been a lot of foreclosures for many years because there's been so much market gain. And when there's market gain, there's equity in real estate. When there's equity in real estate, there's less likely to have foreclosures. Yeah. So you go back 10 years, far more, way more foreclosures back then, less equity, more struggle. But we've been on a lull of foreclosures for a while, and now they're starting to show up again. But we're not seeing distressed sales all over the place. There still is a fair bit of equity out there. As we talked about back in the day, pre-COVID, call it, you show up at court, lawyers there, you see how many other groups there. It may not be perfectly transparent, like we have 5, we have 6, but you can see the groups and the lawyers, you can see the lawyer and you can have conversations and you know what you're getting into. You just have to make a quick decision on the spot with your client right there, deposit in hand, subject free.
Yeah.
The difference today, as Denny's mentioning, is that lawyers operate differently than realtors. And I mean, there's a key thing of transparency. Like it's important as a realtor or buyer's agent to know how many parties are offering on a place. So what you're mentioning here is the new process is you email the lawyer, in a lot of cases, the night before the court date. That lawyer may or may not tell you how many offers. That lawyer may not know how many offers they have at that point in time. So that lawyer may just choose not to answer the question. But if you were to ask a realtor, how many offers, it would be followed up. This is how many I've received. This is how many I think are coming. Or a realtor might even ask, how many realtors are asking you the same question? How many realtors have you sent strata documents to? Or how many realtors are calling you asking for updates? So they give you a little more transparent number to better prep you for what you're about to get into. I think the frustration with foreclosures under email and not knowing is you're really reliant on the lawyer being as transparent as possible. If the lawyer says, I'm not telling you how many offers are coming in because I don't have to, you're going to be guessing. And if you are a buyer and you treat it like, okay, I'm going to take that answer as one other offer versus 5 other offers, it's going to impact the price you offer. So long and short, probably more frustrating process today. It was frustrating before as well. It would be nice if there was a little bit more of a expectation of transparent communication on how many offers were received. And I think that's what your frustration was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that will change, Denny, but
Don't think so.
Yeah. So the process of offering a foreclosure is a little bit riskier because you have to go in subject free at that court date and deposit in hand. It has to be a firm offer to have a chance. The other item is as is, where is condition. And what does that truly mean? It means that you may not get the appliances. It means that the tenant on the way out or the occupant on the way out might do some damage or there just might be some damage that the bank is not going to take accountability for. I've done a number of foreclosure transactions throughout my career, and I tend to find that the bank or the body on the other side that is behind the foreclosure does put their best effort into presenting a clean place once the occupant's out. So, they do invest money in clearing out the place and cleaning it up once the occupant is out, because oftentimes these foreclosures are being listed when there's someone living there. But when you sign that offer, they don't really give you, based on the words in that offer, there's no real peace of mind that you're going to get things in proper working order and things in proper as the condition that you saw when you viewed. Mm-hmm. So I've had a client. I mean, the worst story I've really had is where a client bought. It was a first-time buyer buying a 1-bedroom, and they walked into the place with appliances, and by the time it closed, it didn't have appliances. The tenant took them out. The bank was willing to leave it in clean condition and everything else good, but they would not warrant the appliances. So the tenant was on the hook for buying new appliances. So my thought is, if you're buying
your buyer was on
the hook for no appliances, which is expected. Appliances aren't included in the sale with the foreclosure. So they're not warranting them. Yeah. There might be exceptions to that. So don't quote me on that one. But the thing for that one was, yes, she got a bit of a deal. Let's call it in the neighborhood of maybe upwards of let's call it $20,000 to $30,000. But then there was an investment of 5 to 10 in appliances, and then just the process, the risk. If the property is not rare and it's a cookie cutter box in the sky or just the generic property that's readily available, I think the discount, there is a bit of a deal. It's not much. Maybe it's 5%, maybe a little more. But I've also seen foreclosures for more rare properties, maybe a waterfront condo in New West on the Key that happened a couple months ago, that generate multiple offers. And those aren't deals. They arguably sell for probably not quite, but very similar price as if it was marketed well and done by a realtor the whole way through. But it's in a lawyer court environment. Mm-hmm. So a good property in a foreclosure is a good property, and buyers show up and want it. But a generic one gets a little bit of a marginal discount with some risk of maybe appliances not being there. That's what
I think that's the thing from a realtor perspective, is just explaining that as is where is means, and in foreclosure specifically, you probably are going to get a bit of a deal on market value, but there's potentially some headaches and some risks involved with, I've seen foreclosures go in and there's still tenant stuff there. So you're paying for junk removal, or you're paying for a cleaning fee, or you're, in James' client's case, paying for new appliances. So there is some risk and headaches potentially that will come on possession day. You just have to be okay with, in the hopes of getting, quote unquote, a little bit of a deal.
Yeah. And I should mention, I had a client buy a foreclosure and there was stuff left behind once, but we did get help from the other side to get rid of it. So the other side compensated its removal, even though it was there on closing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of it's pioneers that go after foreclosures. And, if the market does stay flat or if equities reduce over a long period of time, you're going to see more of them come up. But right now, there's more than before, but still not many.
Yeah, it's so interest rate dependent because I think when rates come down, if they come down in the next couple of years, 1.5%, 2%, we'll see market values climb and then the foreclosures will kind of go away. But if rates stay higher for the next 12 months and we only see a 0.25 drop or something like that, you'll see more of them coming. And I've already noticed more in the last like 2 to 3 months than even throughout all of last year.
Oh, people's payments are too high. It's just, the longer they hold, the more are going to show up. Yeah. Hopefully not too many. Hopefully people navigate these waters okay.